Sadia Khan, welcome to the podcast.
That's a bit of pressure, actually, but I'll take it. Best psychologist in the game.
Well, the views that you get say that you are. So
okay, I'll take that. Then.
You're the most viewed psychologist at the moment, I reckon,
maybe
on social media.
Maybe at the moment, yeah. Maybe at the moment, I guess, yeah.
I think before we go into the deep stuff around. Well, all the topics that we're going to go into some mad topics, I'm sure we are. But before we go into that, I just want to kind of get an understanding of why you wanted to even become a psychologist in the first, and what interests you about the human mind and how it works.
That's actually a great question. Thank you for asking that. But I was always a very inquisitive child. I always wanted to know why people do that. Like, it wasn't enough because I had very strict parents. Incredibly strict parents. So wasn't allowed to do this, wasn't allowed to do that. And I was always curious why, because I never really got the why. You know, parents, they're just strict. So I was always wondering why. And because I had that curiosity, I then started studying psychology in school. I was young. I was only like 15, 16 years old. And my teacher was just very encouraging. She was just like, you're really good at this. This is very natural for you. You need to take this further. And me being a kid, I was like, I'm not going to do much with it. What am I going to do? So I started studying psychology in university, did my degree, master's, everything, and I got sick of it. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. But then I realized how much I like working with children. So I decided to become a psychology teacher for a couple of years because I just love kids. Yeah, they're so funny, they're so vibrant. I really recommend everybody to work with
pure
kids.
Energy, isn't it?
You know what? They're so alive. You know, when I used to walk around in the lunch hall and the kids would be smiling, laughing, dancing. Then you go in the staff room and it's miserable and cold. And I just thought, how do people work with adults all the time? You need energy, and the children have it. Have you ever worked with kids?
I've taught carpentry to kids when I was, because I've been a teacher myself, like in colleges and done stuff in schools as well. So I've taught them carpentry and physical stuff, and also work with them in boxing as well, like
amazing.
teaching boxing.
They're fantastic.
They're just like sponges, and they're appreciative of what you can bring. You know what I mean?
And they inspire you. Because what I learned from them, I think this is the core behind my success on social media. When you have children trying to learn something very complex, you have to get into the habit of simplifying it. Make it digestible. So you take psychology, which is really intense, and you have to make it digestible to a 50-year-old boy who's got no attention. So when I got into the habit of doing that, I realized I can dissect psychology and actually teach it to the masses in quite a digestible manner. So that's why I thought, let me just post it online, because I have the skills to kind of make something very complex and just make it quick and easy and accessible. So because of teaching, all praise be to God, it was all because of teaching. So because of that, I started posting it online, and it just kind of took off from there, and now we're here.
A lot of your content that I see, even if it's something I don't know, I don't go getting triggered by it. I'll listen to it and I'll be like, oh yeah, I can understand that from that perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's because I've probably done a little bit of work that I don't get triggered. But I see so many people in your comment section on your videos, right? That if it's something said in certain narrative, because they think a different opinion, they will fight not only you in the comments, but fight other people in the comments.
Yeah.
So why do people then psychologically want to have a war on social media these days? Like what's the reason behind all that?
You know what I would imagine it is? It's where our triggers reveal our insecurities. So, and how you respond to them is how much work you've done in healing. So what I find is, say for example, I talk about the importance of fathers in children's lives, and how much they need a father. I'll have single mums in my comments being like, my ex was a narcissist, he was so abusive. They're so zoomed in to their perspective and their experience. They can't zoom out and think, yeah, my ex was terrible, but my child is still going to suffer. My child's psychology is not going to be totally accepting of the fact that dad was terrible. He still needs a masculine figure. They can't think like that. They're so holding on to their triggers, and they're so defensive of it because they don't want to do the inner work. So when I see like the trigger trolls, I actually just feel a bit sorry for them, because I'm like, if this triggers you so much, it's a message, it's a signal to you, to your brain, of what you need to work on. So use it constructively rather than using it to start a war.
So everything that triggers people, like anyone that's listening to this right now, anything that triggers them in their life is a button that they need to essentially remove.
It's a wound. It's a wound. So what happens with psychology and psychological experiences and traumas, it creates a wound no different to a physical wound. Like if I had a burn on my leg and someone brushes past it, even if they didn't mean to, it's like, be careful, my knee. Psychology does the same thing. If I have a psychological wound and someone just brushes past it with no intention to offend you, simply to just get to the destination, you're going to overreact. And that's what I see the trolls as doing. They overreact and they get really... And I think what's easy with somebody like me compared to maybe other psychologists is it's very easy to attack my looks. It becomes their first thing. It's their first protocol is to kind of go straight for my appearance. And I'm completely used to it, so I don't bother it. But it's one of those things that is actually really interesting. Whereas perhaps if a different psychologist, maybe she was 70 years old, talking about the same thing, no one would go for her appearance. But if I say the same thing, first thing happens, yeah, but all you do is you wear makeup, you're this, I bet you're a slag, you're this, that. So I get far more personal comments with the triggers.
So you even get the slag comments?
Oh, all the time.
Just because of your appearance.
I remember I might say something like the importance of a father, and so they'll start saying you're an escort, you're this, you're that, and it will get so extreme, personal, but never about the content. It gets, because here's what happens: my content is quite well explained, so they can't necessarily attack the content. So it's quicker and easier to defend yourself by attacking me, and the quickest way to attack me is to go for my appearance.
So that shows a lot of vulnerabilities in the people that are attacking you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a quick and easy jab because they assume that's what I care about the most. I've hurt them with my words, unbeknownst to me. I've just done it by explaining something. They want to attack me back, and because they might see me dressed up or a bit makeup, and they think the quickest and easiest way to hurt her back is to say something about her appearance.
Is an assumption a cover for a trigger that's not been healed?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So can you why that is the case?
Well, the thing is, I would imagine if they are assuming that I'm like this and I'm a terrible person and I'm hideous, all right, what it does is then it invalidates my message to them. And then they don't have to work on what I'm talking about.
So this happens in business, in life, in every factor and
everything. It happens, yeah. Because here's the thing: people talk a lot about pretty privilege, and they'll say stuff like, "Oh, yeah, but pretty privilege, and you've just, that's why you've only had this level of success because of your pretty." But it actually works massively against you. In this particular field, if I was an influencer selling makeup products, absolutely pretty privilege matters. But in an academic sense, it's been nothing but a hindrance. In schools, when I was educating, everything, when I was doing my qualifications, I found like if you even take some pride in your appearance, people automatically assume you're dumb. And then you have to work double hard to kind of get that respect. And I found it with students as well. I'd walk into a classroom and immediately they were like, "Oh, she's going to be shit," and then they'd give me that resistance, and I'd have to extra prove myself to just get the normal baseline level of. Did
that add wounds to you as a psychologist that you then had to overcome?
What it did for me is it made me very self-deprecating. So anyone who knows me knows that within 5 minutes I'll say an insult to myself. I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. I'm so fat. I'll say.
You did it before the podcast.
Did I? What did I say?
You was. Not in the sense of in the way that you've just explained, but in the sense of like when we're talking about cameras and stuff, and you apologize and you're apologizing for things you don't need to apologize for.
Yeah, I'm so self-deprecating. I'm overly apologetic because I was constantly criticized in my field because I taking care of your appearance and then going into schools would automatically, especially with the female students, put them on guard. Anything I would say to them, they would take it negatively because they would assume it's coming from a place of arrogance. So I had to self-deprecate to get their alliance. I would have to say, "Oh, I'm so ugly. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I'm so this." And only through putting myself down would I get their warmth. So I got into the habit of doing that.
Do you with friend groups and groups of girls, groups of guys, do you see, let's just take for instance a group of girls that are together. Do you find that there's a lot of crabs in a bucket mentality within these groups these days that hold someone that wants to break out of a pattern back? So
yeah, do you know what I find that especially in London I experience that. What happens in London, in Dubai, the sky's the limit. You can literally be a CEO of a top company and, everybody can. So there's no holding each other back as much. But in London, there is a glass ceiling, whether it's due to structural racism, whether it's due to where you come from, your background, whatever, there's some glass ceiling. So what happens is people really put down your efforts to overachieve or to get out of there. And I understand sometimes some people can be a bit delusional and you just want to give them a reality check. But even if it's as small as like traveling a lot, things that are so achievable, they want to put you down. But like, why don't you just save your money? Why are you always out all the time? Why do you always go for dinner? They just have to question your happiness. And it's a strange mentality. There's
a lot of podcasters out there at the moment that are talking about masculinity at scale. One podcast in America that I know is called Fresh and Fit. And there's these two on there. One of them's called Myron, I think. And they preach being high value men. And from the outside looking in, on a personal level, I'm like, I don't find them as high value as sometimes as what they say they are.
Yeah.
Because of the positioning with the women that they're with.
Exactly.
Right? So are these men high value from a psychological point of view? Or what's the go with that, and why is society rewarding this?
I feel like what's actually that culture is a bunch of men who've been extremely rejected in their past, don't have a lot of success with women, and are now punishing women through the use of money. Now that they made a bit of money, now they can punish them and embarrass them on their platform. But the reality is this is what high value men truly are. Your high value is determined by the level of woman you can get to submit to you. That's your value. The highest level of woman that you can get to submit to you. Now, if the highest level of woman you can get to kind of submit and look after and be loyal to you is a stripper, or is like they usually get a lot of OnlyFans models.